A courtroom full of tension. The jury walks in, the verdict's about to be read, and then gasps. Sean Diddy Combs clasps his hands, looks to the sky, and whispers, "I'll be home soon." He had just been acquitted of some of the darkest accusations in the entertainment industry: sex trafficking and racketeering, charges that could have sent him away for life. But the jury still found him guilty, just not in the way anyone expected. And now the world is left asking, did Diddy dodge justice? Or is this just the beginning of his real downfall? For decades, Sean Diddy Combs was more than just a music mogul. He was a force of nature. From founding Bad Boy Records in the 90s and launching careers like the notorious B.I.G. to turning himself into a global fashion icon with Sean John, Diddy seemed untouchable. Forbes ranked him among the richest figures in hip-hop. He was a Grammy-winning artist, a Ciroc ambassador, and a staple at every red carpet, award show, and private island party. But behind the glitz and glamour, rumors always lingered. Whispers of controlling behavior, stories of volatile relationships. And then, in 2023, the cracks split wide open. His longtime ex, Cassie Ventura, filed a lawsuit detailing years of alleged abuse, control, and dark encounters behind closed doors. Within hours, they settled. But it wasn't over. That lawsuit opened the floodgates. More women came forward, allegations piled up, and suddenly, the man once hailed as hip-hop royalty was under federal investigation. What followed wasn't just another celebrity scandal. It was a full-blown reckoning. The headlines were relentless. Brand partnerships disappeared overnight. Ciroc distanced itself. His Revolt TV ownership came under fire. For the first time in decades, it looked like Diddy was cornered. But the real storm hadn't even started yet. When the federal trial against Sean Diddy Combs began, it wasn't just the music world that tuned in, it was the entire country. The charges were chilling: sex trafficking, racketeering, and transporting women across state lines for prostitution. Words like coercion, manipulation, and abuse echoed through the courtroom, painting a picture far removed from the flashy persona fans had known for years. Prosecutors claimed Combs wasn't just a powerful celebrity, he was the architect of an underground network where women were allegedly lured, controlled, and traded under the illusion of fame and fortune. The government described what they called freak-offs or hotel nights, alleged gatherings involving escorts, drugs, and disturbing levels of control. And they said Diddy was at the center of it all. The trial spanned weeks. 34 witnesses took the stand, recounting stories that painted a jarring portrait of Combs' private world. The prosecution's star witness? Cassandra Cassie Ventura. 8 months pregnant and visibly shaken, she testified for several days. She spoke about emotional and physical abuse, about moments of fear and isolation, and even made the devastating claim that Combs had forced himself on her during their relationship. It wasn't just testimony, it was raw, painful storytelling that left parts of the courtroom silent. As each witness came forward, the tension grew. The jury didn't just hear from women. Former employees, drivers, and insiders all backed up the claims with text messages, financial records, and personal observations. But while the government laid out a heavy case, no one expected what Diddy's defense team would do next. With the weight of over 30 witnesses stacked against him, most expected Sean Diddy Combs' legal team to come out swinging with a dramatic defense, celebrity experts, character witnesses, maybe even Diddy himself taking the stand. Instead, they did nothing. In a move that stunned court watchers and legal analysts alike, the defense called 0 witnesses. No rebuttal, no testimony. They simply cross-examined the prosecution's witnesses and then rested their case. It was a high-risk strategy, but not without purpose. Lead attorney Mark Agnifilo made it clear: the defense wasn't trying to prove Diddy was innocent of every claim ever made. Instead, they focused solely on discrediting the government's legal arguments, poking holes in timelines, pointing out inconsistencies, and framing the witnesses' stories as exaggerated or emotionally charged rather than criminally actionable. Their message to the jury was calculated. Even if you believe some of the disturbing behavior described, it doesn't meet the legal threshold for sex trafficking or racketeering. And strangely, it started to work. Courtroom analysts noted how the cross-examinations peeled back at witness credibility, highlighting moments of hesitation, vague memory, or conflicting details. The jury seemed alert, even skeptical during these moments, and the absence of a defense witness may have left the government's case standing alone, unanswered, but also unsupported by contradiction. It was risky, bold, and unconventional. But when the verdict finally arrived, it became clear just how much that strategy had swayed the room. When the jury returned on the third day of deliberations, the tension in the courtroom was electric. Everyone braced for a definitive moment, either total vindication or absolute collapse for Sean Diddy Combs. What came instead was a split verdict that stunned the public and divided opinion across the country. The jury found Combs not guilty of the two most serious charges: sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy. These were the charges that carried the heaviest stigma and the potential for a life sentence, the ones that could have erased his legacy completely. But he wasn't off the hook. The jury also found him guilty on 2 counts of transporting women across state lines for prostitution, violations under the Federal Mann Act. Serious crimes, each carrying up to 10 years in prison, but nowhere near the life-ending sentence prosecutors had initially sought. Inside the courtroom, the reaction was instant and emotional. Combs, visibly overwhelmed, dropped to his knees at his chair, head bowed in a quiet moment of what looked like prayer. His defense team smiled in relief. His family, 17 members strong, stood up, applauded, and erupted into cheers. Dream team, they shouted, celebrating what felt like a narrow escape from the abyss. Combs turned to them, held his hands in a prayer motion, and mouthed, "I'll be home soon." Outside the courthouse, it was a different story. Protesters, victims' advocates, and stunned onlookers watched as Diddy's family waved to cameras, beaming. His mother gave a thumbs up. His children smiled. It was clear they viewed this as a victory. But beneath the celebration was a deeper question. How did a case filled with such disturbing testimony end in partial acquittal? And even more urgent, what happens now? Though Sean Diddy Combs dodged the most serious charges, he's far from a free man. The 2 Mann Act convictions carry a maximum sentence of 10 years each, and prosecutors aren't letting up. While they initially floated the possibility of a 20-year sentence, they've since adjusted their recommendation to a range of 4 to 5 years behind bars. But that doesn't mean Combs will walk into sentencing quietly. His legal team moved fast, requesting his immediate release on a $1 million secured bond co-signed by his mother, sister, and eldest daughter. The offer included strict conditions. Diddy would surrender his passport and limit his travel to just 4 states: California, Florida, New York, and New Jersey. According to his attorneys, he's been a model prisoner throughout the trial and poses no flight risk. The prosecution, however, isn't buying it. In a scathing letter to the court, U.S. Attorney Jay Clayton argued that Combs remained a danger, not just to the victims who testified, but to the public at large. The letter accused Diddy of assaulting one of the women while he was already under federal investigation, calling him a serious threat who has yet to accept responsibility. They insisted detention should remain mandatory until sentencing. The judge, Arun Subramanian, hasn't made his decision yet. A bail hearing was scheduled for 5 p.m., but no ruling has been announced. Meanwhile, Combs continues to send messages from court, confident, emotional, and defiant. "I'll be home soon," he shouted after the verdict, as if daring the system to stop him. But even if he walks out of the courthouse, the shadows of this case and the ones still looming aren't going anywhere. The moment the verdict hit the headlines, the internet lit up, and not with celebration. While Diddy's family cheered in court, advocacy groups and critics across the country were furious. To them, the verdict wasn't just disappointing, it was devastating. One group, Ultraviolet, which advocates for victims of abuse, called the split decision a stain on the criminal justice system. They issued a blunt statement. This verdict threatens to undo the sacrifice of those who came forward to testify to the abuse they endured. Their message was echoed by countless others online: celebrities, activists, and everyday users who had followed the case closely. Some compared the trial to other high-profile celebrity cases, arguing that once again, money and fame had tilted the scales of justice. Others simply couldn't reconcile the disturbing stories they'd heard in court with the reality that Combs would likely serve just a few years, if any. And it wasn't just activists. Former fans flooded comment sections with outrage, while others posted clips from past interviews and lyrics, suggesting the warning signs had been there all along. A few even speculated that the verdict could empower other powerful men to act without fear of real consequences. But not everyone was convinced Diddy got off easy. Some legal experts pointed out that a conviction under the Mann Act is still rare and serious, especially for a figure of Combs' stature. They argued that while the verdict didn't deliver everything the prosecution hoped for, it still sent a message that no one is too big to be held accountable. Still, the backlash continues to build, and with more lawsuits against Combs still pending, the verdict may not be the end of the road, but the start of a much larger cultural reckoning. Because for many, this wasn't just about one man, it was about who gets believed and who doesn't. At the center of the storm was one woman, Cassie Ventura. Once known simply as a singer and Diddy's longtime girlfriend, Cassie became the key figure in both the courtroom and the court of public opinion. Her testimony was the emotional core of the prosecution's case, and it wasn't just what she said, it was how she said it. 8 months pregnant, visibly exhausted and unwavering on the stand, Cassie laid bare years of alleged manipulation, abuse, and trauma. She claimed Diddy had full control over her life, from monitoring her movements to forcing her into disturbing encounters. Her words painted a haunting picture of a woman trapped behind a glamorous image. The most shocking moment came when she accused him of raping her during their relationship, an allegation that reverberated through the courtroom like a bombshell. But despite her harrowing testimony, the jury still acquitted Combs on the sex trafficking charge tied directly to her account. The backlash was immediate. Women's rights advocates called it a gut punch to survivors everywhere. Supporters flooded Cassie's social media with messages of solidarity and heartbreak. Her attorney, Doug Wigdor, went further, writing a letter to the judge to block Diddy's release on bond, warning that Combs still posed a danger to the victims who testified, including Cassie herself. For many, Cassie wasn't just another accuser. She was the reason the world finally looked closer at Diddy. She broke the silence. She cracked the wall, and now, depending on who you ask, she's either a courageous whistleblower or the woman whose testimony couldn't quite land a full conviction. But one thing is clear. Without Cassie Ventura, none of this would have come to light, and yet the question still lingers. What happens when you speak your truth and the system only listens halfway? With the verdict behind him, Sean Diddy Combs faces a future clouded by uncertainty. His empire, the one built on music, fashion, and branding, is showing cracks like never before. Major partnerships have quietly slipped away. Cyrock distanced itself weeks before the trial ended, and Revolt TV's reputation has taken a hit. Advertisers and collaborators are hesitant to be linked to a man now convicted of serious crimes. But if there's one thing Diddy has proven over decades, it's resilience. Rumors swirl online about a potential comeback, whispers of a tell-all documentary, a memoir, even a new music project that will rewrite the narrative on his own terms. Some insiders suggest he's quietly planning a media blitz aimed at reshaping his public image and reclaiming lost ground. Still, the damage is real. The accusations and convictions have shaken his standing in the industry and among fans. Reality TV opportunities have paused and invitations to the spotlight have dimmed. Can a man who once ruled hip-hop's throne rebuild from such a fall? Or is this truly the end of an era for Sean Combs, the mogul who flew too close to the sun? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, the story isn't over, not by a long shot. Says, Sean Diddy Combs' trial wasn't just about one man, it was a mirror reflecting the deep divisions in how society views power, justice, and accountability. A verdict that split the difference between acquittal and conviction has left many feeling justice was only partially served, while others see it as a hard-fought win against overwhelming odds. This case exposes a culture where celebrity can shield even the most serious allegations, and where survivors still struggle to be heard. It's a reminder that the legal system, no matter how thorough, isn't always black and white. As Diddy faces sentencing and the fallout from this trial, one question remains. In a world obsessed with fame and fortune, who really pays the price? His story is far from finished, and for millions watching, it's a stark warning. Justice can be complicated, messy, and deeply imperfect. But the conversation, that's only just begun.
Let us know what you think down in the comments below. For more celebrity scandals, political news, and more, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Now Famous feed. Your support means the world to us. Thank you.